Are you into Fae? Or I should say, are you into Shadow Fae? Are you into one of those adventures where the players do not only have to fight off said Shadow Fae, but they also have to try and increase their status with said Shadow Fae to maybe get a small chance to get a audience with the Queen of Night and Magic herself? Are you into those courtly adventures that have a lot of great combat, but also have a lot of great conversation, a lot of great schemes and things that's going on? Maybe you should look into Courts of the Shadow Fae. It is absolutely impossible to completely review this module. And that is because this is absolutely the most thorough and the most epic and well written and well designed big ass adventure that Kobold Press has ever released to their audience. They've sent it to me. I've been reading it. I've been looking into it, and it's just such a thorough adventure that has such amazing plot twists, and they seem to be explaining everything in this thing without going too far in it. There is like a great Shadow Fae atmosphere to it, and there's even a guy on the cover holding a balloon. That's a joke, of course. Of course, if you look very closely, that's a wand. But I just think it was really funny when I first laid eyes on this cover. I genuinely thought it was a balloon, and I was not the only person that thought that there was a guy on the cover holding a 5th edition balloon. So I'm just going to try to give you guys the basic idea and basic outline of this module, of this adventure, because there's just way too much in here to keep talking about, because then I would have to make a video that lasts about an hour, maybe 10 hours or something. I just have to read it cover to cover out loud for you guys to even explain what's in here. So I'm just going to give you a basic outline, and without spoiling the entire thing, I can just start off by saying that it is well worth your $30. Yes, it will only set you back $30, which is next to nothing for the amount of hours you will be spending having fun with this adventure. And as a reviewer of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition modules and other stuff, there's two things I know very, very well and very surely. And that is that Wolfgang Bauer and Dan Dillon are two amazing creators. Wolfgang Bauer, of course, is Kobold Press himself. He's like the dude that I have contact with when I have contact with Kobold Press. So for me, he is Kobold Press. So yeah, he is the reason that we have these amazing modules. And then there's Dan Dillon, and I've talked about him a lot. I know. No, I'm not in love with him. Yes, I'm a little bit in love with him, but shh. Anyway, I'm in love with his work. He does amazing work. Every time I happen to like a book, there's like a 50% chance that his name is somewhere in the credits of the thing. And also, the creators in here that have done the art and some of the writing and some of the proofreading and stuff. There's way too many people in here to just tell you guys everybody's name. But so if you're watching and if you worked on this thing, you can be very, very, very proud of yourself. So what do you get for your $30 that you spent on Courts of the Shadow Fae? Well, firstly, you get a adventure consisting of 250 odd pages, called Courts of the Shadow Fae. But there is something else in here, and I always like it when there's more to something when you buy something. And that is actually, there is a small, where is it? Help me. There's a small map in here. And it is actually the Courts of the Shadow Fae that are mapped out entirely for the players and for the Dungeon Master as a tool to help you. It is a small map. It's a standard map that you get with books, but you do not get maps with books that often. So if you spend $30 for an amazing book, that's well worth $30. It's even better getting this map with it. Courts of the Shadow Fae starts players, a group of players off in the town of Zobek on roughly level 7. And if you do not know what the town of Zobek is, it is actually the center town of the Midgard campaign setting. If you do not know what the Midgard campaign setting is, it is the most fleshed out campaign setting there is. It is by Kobold Press, of course. I've reviewed the Midgard campaign setting. You can click it somewhere around here if you want to get your hands on that book, or you just want to see what's going on with that. Anyway, the players start in this center town at roughly level 7, and they kind of notice from getting there, they kind of notice that the town, maybe they don't notice it at first. At first they maybe notice there's some weird stuff going on. There's some weird things like people losing their memory or stuff that happens, and then the next day nobody remembers that it happened. All kinds of stuff that actually turns the players' noses into the direction that there is a Shadow Fae running a business at the moment, because the Shadow Fae that come from the realm of shadows actually feel like they have a claim of owning the town of Sobek, and to be honest, they are kind of right. From what I've read in here, I feel they kind of have a claim to the town of Sobek. A little disclaimer, you are watching a ad-free channel. Yes, I have the ability of turning on ads, so adding ads to my channel if I want and picking up a few extra dollars in the process, but my channel is actually endorsed by the ever amazing Kobold Press, who created the adventure I am reviewing today. So they endorse my channel, and in return for you guys, I actually keep this channel ad-free. It's something I want to do for you guys. I want to create a space where you do not have to click through ads to be able to watch my reviews, because nobody really is waiting for ads. So having them endorse my channel does not mean I will ever lie to you guys about their products. I am a big fan of their products and I want to get it out there. So they are not endorsing my channel so I can sell their stuff to you, my viewers. As a matter of fact, the only deal I have with them is that their stuff, when it arrives in my mailbox, it goes to the top of my pile of what I review. If I do not like the module, and modules of Kobold Press that I don't like are few and far in between, but if I do not like the module, I will not review it on my channel, because I have a channel where I only review stuff that I think is amazing and you guys need to check out. Yes, there are a few modules by Kobold Press that are in my possession that I've decided not to review on my channel, because I just think it's not up to par with any of the other stuff Kobold Press does. But anyway, the people in the town of Sobek, they have no business with snobby little elves, because nobody likes snobby little elves running around, running business and telling everybody what to do. So these elves are now trying to run the town of Sobek, and it is up to the players to, well, to make that not happen, and to actually go into the Shadow Realm and go to the courts of the Shadow Fae, where the Queen of Night and Magic rules the Shadow Realm, and of course wants to rule the town of Sobek. Go in there, have an audience with the Queen, and just make everything undone. Now, the great thing about this module is not the way it is written, because it is exactly written the way we expect from Kobold Press. Just very, very well done. It is also not the artwork, because as you can see, the artwork is just simply amazing. But again, we expect that from Kobold Press. I expect nothing less from them. So, it is also not the humor they use in the book, because again, Kobold Press uses a lot of like small humor in their books, so it is exactly the way I expected it to be. But it is actually the way the adventure is built for the Dungeon Master to run. They actually use acts and scenes within acts for the Dungeon Master to run this campaign. So the story of what's going on in Courts of the Shadow Fae is actually a moving story. It keeps evolving. For example, your players go into the town of Sobek, and there is a series of encounters they can have, and there's a series of encounters they maybe won't have. It doesn't really matter which ones they have. Well, there's some that are more valuable than others, but the story keeps moving. There are acts and there are scenes. Once your players cross a certain scene, they go into the next scene, and you as a Dungeon Master do not have to say, you now go into the next scene. It is actually just, it is for the Dungeon Master, it is there. There are certain things the players can do to actually trigger going from one act to the other, or going from one scene to the other, or just simply ending an act, starting a new act. There's certain things that trigger that, which keeps this adventure moving. Now there's a few things that I think are great for running that type of adventure. First of all, you as a dungeon master do not have to know exactly to the point, to detail, what's going on in the great scheme of things, in the great scope of things, because you just have to know in what act you are and what scene you are, and you just have to know what you know from that scene and that act, so you do not have to know everything about the adventure. Also, it is very clearly done. Like, there is a series of encounters your players can have. They have some of them, then they trigger the next one, and you just skip that entire scene. You just flip over it because you do not need it anymore. Now, another thing that brings to the table is that if you play this adventure twice with two different groups, maybe with the same group even, the story, no, not the story, but the adventure will be completely different. Well, the story and the flow of the story will be the same, and what's happening in the background will, of course, be the same, but for the players, it will be a completely different experience because it is a compilation of loosely attached encounters that your players can have to figure out what's going on. So even if your players decide to sit at the inn the entire day and play backgammon and drink grog, I don't know, stuff will keep happening, the storyline will keep moving. Even if your players are sitting on their asses, the storyline will keep moving, and at a certain point shit will hit the fan. And I just think that's a great asset to this adventure, because I have a feeling that a lot of the 5th edition official adventures, official campaigns, adventure books, well, they are a bit railroady, although they claim not to be, and they often, when you read them at first, they look very choice based and they look very open, and you get the vibe from it that everything can happen and anything can happen. When playing them, it doesn't really feel that way. It's just, I always have a feeling that official 5th edition stuff, not all of it, but a lot of the official 5th edition stuff is kind of railroady. It's kind of like, here's a dungeon, here's this, do this. While in the Courts of the Shadow Fae, I really have a feeling that your players can just go anywhere. They can ask about anything. They can see what gossip they can pick up. They can see what secrets they can unravel, and they can get to the end of this campaign totally their own, very own way. So one way they accomplish that is by adding a lot of random tables. And as a Dungeons & Dragons dungeon master or players, I absolutely like rolling on random tables. And what they do add to an adventure is that it gives a lot of randomness to the adventure, which is absolutely great. For example, there is a 20 dangerous and luring illusions for Fae chambers rolling table random thing here that if you play this adventure twice, there's a good chance you will roll different sets of random dangerous illusions for the chambers. And this book is absolutely filled to the brim with these kinds of rolling tables with random encounters. Of course, there's even menus, there's even gossip they can pick up, there's illusions, there is madness effects, all kinds of random rolling tables. It actually reminds me a lot of Wrath of the River King, an adventure by Kobold Press, which I've also reviewed somewhere on my channel. They also have a lot of these random tables, which just give the player a big what the fuck feeling, because they have no idea, oftentimes they have no idea what's going on. They even have a system in place in this adventure where you can gain status with the Shadow Fae, and the status system is actually a system like in a video game or something. You actually have a number assigned to your status. Maybe it can be a hidden number, maybe it can be a number you give to your players. Doesn't really matter how you do it. I just feel that there's a lot of dungeon mastering that can be done when it comes to this status thing. Anyway, there is even these 2 pages that have all kinds of different creatures and different NPCs and different kind of people that are in certain status groups, maybe status 0 to 4, status 5 to 9, status 10 to 14. There's like entertainers, there's like thieves, tricksters, monsters, orphans. So you can compare your status with actually other statuses to see where you are on the Shadow Fae status ladder, which gives a very video game feeling to it for me, maybe even an MMORPG feeling to it, but I think that's actually a good thing. For example, there is this very cool bar right here where when you do certain actions you lose certain amounts of status points. For example, killing royal ravens or a swarm of death butterflies, you will lose 3 status points. By the way, the inside cover of this book looks amazing. If you want to maybe, for example, enter the royal halls or get an invitation to enter the royal halls, you will need 16 status points to get that invitation. Not much more to say about this adventure. Well, actually there's way more to say. I can probably fill up half of YouTube with what's in this adventure, but I just do not want to do that because it is such a great adventure and I want you to see it for yourself and read it for yourself and discover it for yourself. What can I say? I mean, almost every NPC, there is artwork for it. There's like cartography for all the main places your players will visit. Great cartography, by the way. There's stat blocks for days, for weeks, for years. There's enough in here to keep your players busy for a long time, going from level 7 to level 11, and it will only set you back $30 or so. So if you want to see any of my other reviews of stuff from Kobold Press, make sure to click one of these videos right here, and like always, of course, it will teleport you to the right video. If you have any certain detailed questions about Court of the Shadow Fae, make sure to hit me up in the comments below as well. I might be able to answer them. Anyway, I hope your inspiration may guide you.